Isn't it just so great that we can come together as a film community to share our love for certain movies and disappointments with others? The internet has connected all these really well thought out discussions. Well, you know, sometimes that can happen, I guess. Not always, though. Welcome to the worst reviews on Letterboxd, the sequel. This is the show where I, that other George, tell people that their opinions of movies are wrong, because that is what I do best. Thank you very much. So adjust your projector, go get some popcorn, and let's take a look at some of the worst reviews on the movie review website, Letterboxd. So I actually rewatched The Empire Strikes Back a little while back, and wow, is it still so perfect and probably the best Star Wars movie. But I guess not all will agree. Yoda looks like a shitty toy and sounds like his batteries are dying, hence his inability to construct proper sentences. Luke should have shoved a couple of Duracells up his green ass. Oh no. I really don't get the appeal of these films. Someone please explain to me why this is so great. I'll even settle for an explanation on why it's good. The whole thing is so pedestrian. The acting is hokey, the action is dated and the sword fighting is cheese infused. The characters are two-dimensional at best, and outside of the flashy visuals, it lacks actual substance. Not too sure why this person dislikes the acting. The performances from basically every cast member is still very charming and outstanding. The lightsaber duels being cheesy, I know Bullet Star Wars is like such a cliche excuse for bad things at this point, especially with recent films, but you know, it is Star Wars. I think it was brought up in the Plinkett review at some point, but like, Yoda jumping around with a lightsaber is a little bit odd, but I don't really see how that would go against, like, I don't know, Luke Skywalker's character or something. It seems pretty natural with what's been set up. Characters are two-dimensional. The hell are you talking about? The, spoiler alert? Reveal that Darth Vader as Luke's father is like the most powerful character interaction in cinematic history. It's just spectacle, there's no substance. Ah yes, the beautiful and mysterious setting for Cloud City. That led to nothing, did it? Ah yes, Hoth, the snowy planet where the most iconic Star Wars battle ever took place. That led to nothing as well, I presume. Ugh, God, this review is so bad. Speaking of films that for some reason get accused of achieving nothing, Avengers Infinity War. Obviously at this point, you guys know where I stand on the hate surrounding the MCU. And I think basically everyone agrees that it does get too much hate simply because it's popular.
I know it's cool to hate Marvel movies because they're popular.
And well, you get these people on Letterboxd that are so incapable of typing a fair analysis just because they have to be like contrarian to the popular opinion. And in the end, it turns out the Marvel Cinematic Universe was the story of Tony Stark trying to figure out faster and faster ways of getting dressed. A noble goal to be fair. But still, 150 minutes of dank colours in deep space. Precious few sparks of life. As much as I admired the film leaning towards sadism, the Russo brothers continue to be the absolute worst. Sure, there was that really cool shot of Tony's suit slithering over him, but saying that's the only goal of the MCU is such a ridiculous thing to say. I always love this attitude towards boiling a film down into the most basic thing imaginable and passing that off as if to imply that that's all the film is offering. As if the film doesn't have any of those great character team-ups, a villain with a motivation so powerful yet extremely mindful, and of course all of those really well executed action sequences. Speaking of people that feel the need to have controversial opinions on really well loved movies, let's take a look at this review of Taxi Driver. You know, that film that copies Joker? I did not like this movie. I would not like to drive a taxi. What? I just facepalmed when I saw this. Like, you hope it's a joke, but either way, what are you supposed to add to that, you know? But anyway, speaking of films that have a main protagonist that have people dislike them because of the way they mess up certain relationships, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is an incredible movie. It's my second favourite Edgar Wright movie, just behind Hot Fuzz. I love Michael Cera's awkwardness in just every single role he plays pretty much. I love the phenomenal editing and camera work, it just all flows so well together. And I ultimately just love how unique this film is, alongside basically every other movie in Wright's catalogue. But I guess you will always get those evil people out there. I had no clue what was happening throughout the whole movie. They never set up any rules. Is Scott actually killing 30 people, or is it just in his head? That argument sounds familiar. Can people see the fireballs being thrown? And if so, everyone just acts like this is an everyday occurrence. And it doesn't help that Scott is such a bad person throughout the whole movie. He cheats on his girlfriend instantly with some random girl. Blah blah blah, in the end it was just worse than Black Panther. What an odd comparison. Okay. First things first, Scott cheating on his girlfriend is never presented as a good thing in the film. They do make a point of that, but the whole plot of the film revolves around that drama. And secondly, yeah, things in Scott Pilgrim don't necessarily reflect our own reality. The idea is that everything is very video game or nerd themed. But this person's right, none of this is properly explained. It's not as if it's one of those bad getting sucked into a video game kind of films, but at the same time this film is fiction. As long as the film doesn't contradict how the universe works, then this isn't a writing problem at all. It's actually called creative writing. Yay! Quick interjection. Don't worry, this isn't a word from our sponsors or anything like that. But this video has been, fairly negative so far, so I thought we should appreciate one of the best reviews on Letterboxd instead. And it's a review posted on the film Happy Feet, Tarantino's favourite movie. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty damn accurate. I love Tarantino's films, but the guy doesn't seem like, the most normal in the world. Speaking of Tarantino films I love, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is an excellent movie. And some people will claim that it's one of his weaker films, and whilst Kill Bill is my personal favourite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is pretty damn high on the list for me. It captures that time period so well. The performances from everyone is excellent, especially Brad Pitt. The film is absolutely hilarious in so many places, but on the complete flip side it has such intense action. So it's just a tad bit weird to me that people are very disappointed with this movie. I won't read this full review because it's very nonsensical, which is essentially what Lucy is trying to accuse the film of being. Anyone could have directed this. No. Just no. Completely inorganic when related to him. Lifeless corpse of a plot that goes nowhere. Sure, the film isn't structured like your typical Tarantino flick, where every character has some very specific motivation or objective that they want to achieve. But the point of this movie is to showcase the Hollywood lifestyle at that time, and it has plenty of little stories showcased within it that lead to something bigger towards the end of the film. Anyway, I spent half hour yesterday just looking through every single negative review of this film, and my brain was hurting just too much. Because everyone just basically says oh yeah, it's really bad, and gave a dumb reason, and just left it at that. Finding a comment that contained some level of substance was just like a mission. Mission Impossible Fallout is just so great. Seriously, some of the best action I've ever seen is in this movie. But apparently it has too much CGI. It's quite possibly a joke, but even still it just makes me angry. Not only were all of the stunts 99% practical, but Tom Cruise was doing all of them. The absolute madman. Speaking of films that have absolute legends playing a legend in an action movie, John Wick. Top-notch choreography, and the soundtrack goes so well with the action sequences. Terrible film, horrid plot that was too simplistic and executed horribly with... Alright, I think this might be a troll. I mean, they started their Cat in the Hat review by saying, best movie. How does one even conclude a video like this? Letterboxd is a really great site. You should totally make an account and follow me on it, but just don't go down the rabbit hole of the negative reviews. My head just feels like it's about to explode.